He's done. Vitality take the ace. Knight's gonna get dodged out. Oh my goodness, Memento is tagged in to join the party. Picks up first, picks up second. Is he gonna live? I think so.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the 2017 EU LCS Spring Split. It's do or die here in Berlin as we bring you the last week of cross-group play. Tonight, the bottom four teams are battling for survival. Early today, we saw Vitality and Giants taking to the stage, getting ready for their showdown to find security here, and some cosplayers as well. Hello, everyone. I'm Daniel Dracos, and joining me at the analyst desk. Huh?
We also cosplayers.
We are also cosplayers.
Yes.
We're cosplaying qualified analysts. I'm Daniel Dracos.
I like that.
This is Martin DeFischer. Welcome, everyone.
And this is Doom's week because these teams, they gotta win, man. It's now or never.
I mean, it absolutely is. Let's take a chance then to look at the standings. Groups A and B, it is the last week of cross-groups play. When we look at it, you can see the top is still the top, the bottom is still the bottom, but now that we're more than halfway through the split, those bottom teams have to be scared.
Yeah, and these bottom teams, you know, they're not really getting wins anywhere else but when they play each other. Last time Giants won, it was against Rocket. Last time Vitality won, it was against Origin, funny enough. They have not beaten the top 6 teams. So we're looking at them now this week when they play each other, especially today when we have some very, very interesting matchups.
Well, it is a 4-day week this week, so let's take a chance to look at the entire schedule throughout the rest of this. So as you mentioned, bottom teams fighting each other. We're going to see that a lot through the course of the week, but we also have some top matchups. Misfits versus H2K going to be exciting. G2 versus Splice. Splice not quite as top as they once were, but still interesting to see.
Oh, so very interesting. I like the fact that we have the top 6 teams against each other and the bottom 4 against each other. Again, it's very different matchups, but they all mean a lot. Like, a lot of teams are fighting for positioning around playoffs, and then the other teams are fighting to survive and keep their spot in the LCS.
Well, it's interesting how hard it's been for the bottom teams this time around. I feel like we always have 1 or 2 bottom teams, but never has it been, I think, this bad. Only 2 series wins across all 4 of our bottom teams is kind of a grim place for them to be at this stage.
It's crazy. Like, again, they lost 26 series. You highlighted the 2 they won. And again, it's shown how one-sided it's been. And this is why it's important to get that breath of life by, like, getting that 1 victory, because we know these teams are not going to win a whole lot of games. So 1 or 2 wins this week can basically mean you're out of the promotion tournament.
Which is all too crucial. Well, let's take a chance then to look at today's schedule, focusing on our first matchup, which is going to be, of course, Vitality versus Giants. Now, this is an interesting one for me. Once again, battle of the bottom teams, but Vitality look like they've been kind of improving here over the last few weeks.
Yeah, I feel like there's 2 reasons we kind of feel like they've been improving. One, against G2, they had like a fairly good early to mid game where they were actually staying somewhat even against them, but then they would sadly like lose after. And then I also feel like it's kind of based around the names on Vitality. Like, you hear Cabo Shot, Steelback, Nuke Duck, and you don't think to yourself, oh yeah, relegation team. No, you kind of go like, yeah, these guys, you know, pretty good names, big names in Europe. They should not be fighting with some of these other.
Comfortable right now. They do not look good.
They're surviving on the name at the moment.
Not where you want to be. Maybe today is a chance for them to build it back up, but this is a good time for us to look at the mid lane matchup. Nuke Duck coming in once again. Vitality sticking to the same roster. Now facing down across from Knight. I mean, what are your thoughts on Nuke Duck right now in this team, in this lineup?
Well, I've seen Nuke Duck get some flack from the community, and I think it's not really deserved. I don't think he's the guy you should target if you want to criticize anyone on Vitality, because he's one of the most important members. Like, not only does he deal like the highest amount of damage on his team, which is obviously an important thing right now, he's also consistently doing well or fine in the laning phase. He doesn't really fall behind at all in these games. And most importantly, he's a shot caller. Like, he's actually a very important vocal member on this team. He's always been that kind of player since Season 3 when I used to play against him, and he was really hard to deal with. So It's weird in the sense that GBM is not being used at all, because when they had GBM, he was very proactive. He forced a lot of plays. You know, you can swap him in after you may be going down 0-1 in a series. But Nukeduck is just kind of the consistent rock on Vitality, and that's why they can't really swap him out.
And it's interesting, too, because on the opposite side, the consistent rock for Giants last split was Max Floor and Knight. And while they do have another great jungler on their team in Memento, a guy who's kind of surprised us over the course of his appearances in the LCS, Knight is down and out recently. And really, I feel like it's all on Memento now.
And I think that's why Memento has to play this very selfish style where he becomes the carry. Like, he becomes the guy who you kind of rely on to win you games. And it's not as a ganking jungler specifically. It's more like this very skirmish heavy, you know, Graves and Kha'Zix are two big picks for him. You can see in the stat here on the screen, you know, like, while there's a high kill participation, there's also a really high damage percent for a jungler. He's the jungler who deals the most, like, has the highest damage percent out of all junglers in EU LCS. Obviously, also because some of the other members on his team is not doing a whole lot. But it's very different style if you look at Joko, who's very like, I need to snowball my lanes. I need to snowball my carries. Joko is very active in the early game. He's part of the most first spots in the LCS. Sadly, his carries have not really picked it up. But it's fun to see, like, you have like one guy who's like, yeah, I'm going to enable my carries, the big names on my team, and then you have the other guy in Memento who's like, no, I need to enable myself. I need to be the guy who wins this game for my team.
Okay, so we've already talked a little bit about, you know, Joko needing to enable someone. We brought up Nukeduck earlier. Is that who we want to see Joko ganking for, Joko setting up for success? Where does he need to give his attention to make sure that Vitality can find a win here?
Because Nukeduck does not really fall behind in lane, you do not need to play around him. Capo shot on a carry in a Renekton meta, or steal back, getting, you know, a few ganks early on, get an early tower, and then he becomes the carry in team fights. That, in my opinion, is the way to go for Vitality, because you know Nukeduck is going to be fine against Knight. Knight has not been performing too well, even though he's the rookie of the split of last year. So I want to see Capo shot on a carry. I want to see Joko around him at first, get him rolling, and then set up steal back for success. And if you're Giants, you got to obviously prevent that. And one of the ways to do it is Flaxis up in that top lane. Needs to show that a new name is currently as good as an old big name like Caposhot. Flaxis plays a lot of different champions. Give him a last pick and see if he can counterpick Caposhot and maybe shut him down.
Well, I'm curious here, at the end of the day, what does this victory really mean for either side? What are we looking at when it comes to stakes?
I mean, it means everything. You know, there is one, the confidence, the fact that you break a losing streak for both teams. Also the fact that the team underneath you is sitting on 0 wins. So by you obviously getting another win now, you kind of get a bit of a buffer. 2 wins now between you and these like Rocket or Origin teams. And that can be important when it comes to just avoiding relegation, because I think all 4 teams are not necessarily looking at playoffs. For now, it's to save your behind and then see if you can maybe aim for playoffs later on.
All right. Well, it's an explosive week, and we want to hear from you. Let us know who out of the bottom 4 teams is going to stay safe in the EU LCS and why. Tweet at LO Esports using the hashtag EU LCS. Who's going to get it? Why? Maybe what players are going to carry it home for them? We'll see who fights harder to keep themselves safe here in the EU LCS as we send it over to the caster desk for Game 1 between Giants and Vitality.
Thank you very much, Dracos. And hello, all you esports extraordinaires out there. I'm Devin Pyrotix, and of course, joining me here on the caster desk is none other than James Stress O'Leary. And I think we are all very excited for this one.
We're ready to go, Devin. Let's run it through the rosters.
Let's not waste any time. Absolutely. In the blue corner, it is going to be Vitality, which means up in the top lane, we have Cabo Shard. In the jungle, it is Joko. Mid laner is Nukeduck, ADC Steelback. Their support, AOD, and Coach Irian.
Some Cabo Shard fans in the audience, clearly,
Oh, yeah.
but we'll see if there are any fans for the team in the red corner. It is Giants. In the top lane, it is Flaxish. In the jungle is Memento. Mid lane is Knight. AD carry is HQ. Support Hustlin. And that coach is Lozak.
Yes, indeed. Both these teams only sitting on 1 measly win here in week number 7, as they said and stressed on the desk. These guys both need it. They need it bad. It's going to be a big best of 3.
It is. It really is for these 2 teams. And I think it's very interesting what Deficio was talking about, not necessarily needing to play around Nukeduck for Vitality, whereas for Giants, we've got a lot of questions over, well, who have they been playing around? Because it's very rare that you can successfully play around a jungler being a carry, but Giants have tried to make that work for them. We'll see how that is affected in the draft. You have to anticipate picks like Graves are going to be out of the way for Memento. He's not getting his hands on that.
Yeah, it's kind of a clear-cut path for Vitality to try and take away some of the powerful picks, and we'll see if that happens as we load up here into picks and bans. A lot of experience on this Vitality side, as they mentioned, though, not always panning out for them.
No, it doesn't normally. We are on 7.4 still. 7.5 is on the live servers.
LeBlanc is
so that
still
means
ban-worthy.
LeBlanc is still ban-worthy. The most banned champion currently in the world. 72 bans already racked up. That makes at least 73. And off the table goes an early focused jungler for ganking, which is not the style that Deficio was talking about all the time for Memento. So with Elise off the table, expecting to see Graves' priority go up in, strength and value again.
And that Varus is banned away as well, starting to hit the AD carry pool as to be expected. We didn't talk about it, but the Jace ban also had come through for Vitality, and they will follow up with the Zyra. So hitting the bot lane pretty hard now.
And it's very interesting with that Elise ban. Memento hasn't shown it on the LCS yet, but you have to feel like Vitality, they've played a lot of Rengar as well. So if they are trying to push Memento back onto something like a Graves that requires a little more farming time, maybe Joko's going to try and go for some of the early game presence that we saw in the series against G2, but now surely you've got to go Graves first. It's either Graves or Jhin have that very high first pick priority.
Who do you trust? But it looks like it actually ends up being the support. They lock in the Malzahar for AOD. He had been hit pretty hard in the ban pool last time we saw him.
If I'm Giants right now, though, I'm kind of picking up Jhin Graves as my first rotation.
All right.
There is a lot of other picks available when you look down the lineup if you wanted something for the top lane, if you want to take away or take a safe Maokai for Flaxish, but this is very early on. You wouldn't want to do that in the draft.
Yeah, Jhin makes a lot of sense. It's going to get locked in, shifts over Memento's way. We'll see if he does take that Graves. Put a lot of stock in that jungler. No reason to change now.
I like the Malzahar as a possibility for AOD. He was good roaming out on the map, getting vision, looking for engages and picks. So maybe this is the kind of jungler that support that they want to assist Joko with in the jungle. And this isn't an odd rotation, but also makes sense given the priorities in top lane. This is also hustling. This is a flexible Nautilus. They always pick Nautilus as a melee support if it is available, and hustling feels like he wants to play it. So it's not too bad for Giants. They're trying to maintain some pace.
Yeah, we'll see. Also seen Cabochard play a couple on that one, so it could be that bit of a takeaway. But the Renekton is locked in on that last rotation for them. They'd also already taken the Ashe. No-brainer when you've got the Jhin taken away in the Varus bans.
The thing here with the Renekton lock-in means if they do end up putting Nautilus into the top lane, Nautilus will struggle in the early game up against this Renekton. So I like it out of Vitality. You've got good engage already out of your bottom lane combo. And of course, they had to pick up the Ashe. Otherwise, with Jhin locked in already, that AD carry pool would get pinched pretty hard.
So, top lane is actually the choice for Giants. They lock in the Shen, which means we will be seeing the Nautilus go down to the bottom side. This is a chance for Vitality to pinch out that jungle pool.
Yeah, we are going deeper into jungle pools from both teams, though, when you look at it. That Nautilus going to that support role. And at this point, you've got to look at the likes of Graves, Lee Sin, Kha'Zix, still available. Will both teams pinch jungle, or will it be everything left available? You've also, of course, got the mid lane is still available with the Syndra, the likes of that still up.
The Olaf ban has been a Joko special here in the European LCS.
Very true.
Yeah, hasn't netted them all that many wins, but it definitely is a comfortable champion. This time he'll have to go a little deeper into it. So far, that is what Giants have focused on. Vitality bans back to them.
Yeah, Vitality may look to ban away like the likes of Orianna, Syndra here if they want to put pressure on tonight. Nuke Duck throughout history has played a lot of different champions. We've seen the Talia out of him a couple of times. That is a bit more of an LCK special. We see it every couple of games or series in LCK. Don't see it a whole lot over here in Europe, but Nuke Duck has that as an option if something like an Orianna was picked by Giants.
Yeah, Nuke Duck has a pretty big champion pool. He's not the only one, though. We've seen Knight play quite a large number of champions this split. He pulled out the Talon pretty famously. Didn't work last week, but damn, it didn't look too bad either.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's that kind of pick where up against the stronger teams probably wasn't going to win the game on its own, unfortunately.
No. It's nice creativity, though. I like to see it. Always some fun parkour off of that champion, but we'll see what both these mid laners have in their pockets. The Ryze and the Cassiopeia have been taken away. Vitality have one more ban. Do they throw it the way of the jungle, or do we see more mid bans come through?
The thing is, for Giants at this point, they're kind of heavily stacked in AD. I mean, if they'd have taken the Graves here, that would have been another AD threat and would have forced them to bring at least some extra magic damage, of course, from their mid laner. That's not exactly too hard.
Yeah. Well, what do we expect to see then in the jungle? I mean, tanky champion wouldn't do when you already have a big support and a big top laner.
Memento, if he wants to go something like a Lee Sin, he hasn't played it a whole lot, or a Kha'Zix, you force Vitality back onto the likes of the Rek'Sai, is what we've seen a lot out of Joko. Ivan has been banned, not banned, nerfed a lot. That's a Gragas.
All right.
That's a Jungle Gragas.
We got Jungle Gragas back.
We have seen a couple of games of Jungle Gragas in the last week or so.
Yeah, gone full circle. There had been played a little bit up in the top as, you know, a counter to something like the Camille. Something came out of the LMS we saw at IEM as well, and then that last Orianna lock-in. That's a pretty big ball delivery system on Vitality's side. Let's see what Giants answer with in the mid lane.
Yeah, that's a pretty well-rounded composition out of Vitality, although I am a little worried about Gragas with regards to the mid lanes, with regards to the jungle. So with mid lane Ahri locked in now, this is the kind of pick that we want to see presence out of Knight with, where he can potentially carry a game if he can get this assassin going. You've got it paired with a Shen, you've got a Kha'Zix alongside as well. Interesting. I like the setups that we've got here. Vitality opting for something a little different out of the jungle with that Gragas. Of course, we saw that over in the LPL earlier this week.
And it does fit the styles they talked about on the desk. Joko trying to facilitate his carries, potentially up in the top lane if they can get Cabochard rolling, maybe making trips down and bottom. I think Nukeduck should be fine in the mid, but for Giants' side, Memento, he's on a carry himself, and he's also going to be able to deliver Flaxish. That submarine Kha'Zix sleeve can be pretty deadly.
Yeah, it can be very, very deadly. I'm loving this return of Jungle Gragas. Everywhere we're seeing an LPL, LCK, we saw it over in the
It's got a little bit AP, nice and tanky as well. Oh yeah, no, it definitely gives a lot, and it's nice to see Gragas back in that role. As long as he doesn't get picked every game, because that was another time.
Splice will be happy.
Oh yeah.
Splice will be very, very happy.
Well, we're going to have to wait a while before we see that one. Right now, it's all about Vitality. It's all about Giants. Somebody's going to walk away with the big win on the board, but this all starts right here, right now. Who's it going to be? Vitality, Giants trying to climb out in this relegation-bound scrap. Who will it be? We'll find out as we get up onto the Rift. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's load into Summoner's Rift for game number 1 of this best of 3. Some explosive composition, some well-rounded ones we saw from Vitality on Giants' side as well. If they can get rolling early, they can definitely get some work done. Let's see it.
Vitality have got so many engaged tools. You look at this, you got like the Flash Malzahar, you got Ash Arrow, you got the Gragas ult. They just want to fight. That's what Vitality want to do, which is so far apart from what we've seen out of Vitality in previous weeks. I like the change.
Oh, it's great. You've got to try something, especially when you're only sitting at 1 win, 6 losses, down in the bottom of the standings. You need to make a change, and for Vitality, if this is the pick and ban that's going to bring them back, it's going to be good looking. I'm excited to see Cabochard on this Renekton. It's definitely his style of champion. Let's see if he can get back to that old dominating carry style we saw in years past. Knights just want to play some games, man.
Knight, he's playing games in the game.
Whoa.
Heard you like games. So, Vitality, they're going to defend with Orianna against any kind of play onto the Raptors. You can see that's what Giants were doing on the top side. That's why there's so many people stacked up, is because if somebody from Vitality crosses through, if it's only a Joko or a Cabochard, like on their own, or 2 or 3 people, then Giants can actually get the engage off, try and get a sense of summon a spell advantage early on, but neither team actually goes for that aggressive play onto the Raptors this early on.
Now it looks like it will be non-aggression for the time being. A lot of wards covering Giants' side of the map, trying to make sure that they don't get spotted on the invades, but Vitality, as you said, weren't interested in doing it. So things start off as per usual. Raptors picked up from Memento, a little slight assist from Knight as he gets back into lane, just on schedule with Nukeduck. See where the focus ends up being in this early game. I'm looking at Memento for sure.
And you can see it's a different start on the bottom side, though. Joko not starting on Raptors, actually starts on Red himself. Of course, when you have level 2 on Gragas, now you have a little faster clear, you have the Barrel Atlas, you have Body Slam. I'm going to double check that that is what Joko has gone for. Actually starting with W and Q doesn't take the Body Slam yet. We'll have that
clear,
in
right?
time. Yeah, a little bit quicker clear, but there's always one interesting thing you can do on Gragas that I guess while we're tracking Joko through. Once you hit level 3, attacking things like Gromp and Blue are all about interrupting the minion camp auto attack animation because you reset it and actually save yourself about the cycle of 2 auto attacks, and it helps you clear through the jungle just that bit faster. But you can see Joko only now onto his blue buff is still level 2, so hasn't got that early level 3 pathing like Memento has. You can see this, he's looking for Nuke Duck, can't quite get into mid lane yet. Can they land a charm from Knight?
Nuke Duck steps forward, insta flash, and there's the hop, the damage, the charm is going to connect, even though he's able to cleanse it out. Knight follows through for first blood.
Well worked first blood. Memento off that early level 3, gets himself that red buff, gets into the lane, charm lands out of Knight, and he even saved his flash. Of course, that was Knight having Ignite, utilizing this Ahri, gets the cleanse early from Nuke Duck and still gets the kill.
That's exactly what Knight wanted to do early on. He got the kill picked up for himself. Memento with a huge heaping helping of damage early on. It's going to give Joko a chance to play some wards throughout the jungle, but there's no camps for him to steal back.
Exactly, and this is the difficulty now that Joko has, because you see Memento come in with only red buff and you've just finished Gromp and blue buff on the top side. Joko doesn't have too many options aside from go to Krugs and then head towards the top lane if you can dive Flaxish, but it's so difficult early on without a body slam flash connecting into a Renekton combo. It's tough to get that kill. Not impossible, but nevertheless, the benefit has gone massively over to Giants in this early game. So
Let's take a look at it again, yeah.
Yeah, you can see Memento off level 3 and just jumps. Gets Nuke Duck, cleanse early into the Ignite.
Tip of the charm, too. All he needed was an extra second. Knight tanking a couple of turret shots, but he still was able to make the play. That could be the big start for Giants, what they need. Now remember, go back a little bit. Knight is our outstanding rookie of the ULCS 2016 Summer Split. Hasn't been living up to that expectation lately, but this could be the start of something here. Nuke Duck could be in some trouble.
Yeah, Nuke Duck a little behind it there. The interesting thing for junglers perhaps that are watching this, wondering where Memento got that level 3 from, because he'd only done 2 camps, actually got level 3 from the Rift Scuttler. So he went over from Raptors, red, Rift Scuttler mid, got level 3, is able to get a kill. So important pathing from Memento very early on. You can see, however, the wards have gone down from Joko in the jungle when he was on that invade, but the same has happened. Memento has put wards all around that lower side jungle too. So exchanging jungle priority. Cabochard wants to try and punish Knight since he has no flash.
Might do it, but Memento was there as well. Cabochard had gone on a big roam. It gives Flax just some time up in the top to eke back that farm that he had been losing out to Cabochard in that matchup. But Memento is still on the seafood train.
The thing is, there was a big wave stacked up underneath Flaxish when you look at the red minions, so Cabochard won't lose too much experience for roaming out of lane. The farm game is an okay one, but if Cabochard had been able to capitalize on that flashless Ahri, maybe try and beat Flaxish to 6 and then shove him back out, maybe they could have done something to prevent this Shen's level 6, but it is very, very difficult to do that.
Yeah, Cabochard's going to need all he can get to keep on pushing through, because he's allowed Flaxish to catch back up on farm now. This Renekton really wants to dominate in the laning phase. If he's not going to be able to do it, he's not going to be super useful come the later stages of the game. And Giants, you know, they've got some powerful scaling of their own. Yeah,
they've got decent scaling. It's a little bit more snowball reliant. Ahri, if you don't get kills, kind of falls off. The same kind of thing with the Kha'Zix. If you're not getting kills consistently, there is a point in the game where it becomes a lot more difficult to have impact. So for Giants, it's a good start early on. 1 kill. It's not so much that you can just go, they won the game already, Pyra. That's it. The game's done.
That would be a real quick, decisive one for sure.
Now, this is Cabochard sending a message to Flaxish. And the message is, if you ever TP out of your lane, I am already 6. I've come back into lane with my items. I don't have TP. I'm not going to follow you, but I am going to take your turret. So Flaxish has to be careful if there's an engage on bot side.
Yeah, and Giants, they're a team that, honestly, no stranger to losing a lot of turrets. We looked into it earlier in the week, and you know, they're the team that really does give up the most towers anywhere in the LCS. 15 minutes, they just have such a poor ratio of control. They're not the most objective-focused team. They are a little bit better at fighting.
They are, when you look at the towers specifically, a lot of the time Giants are taking Dragon as an objective rather than towers. We have seen a strong focus on towers in recent weeks on the most recent patches, where you're trying to make sure you can get tower first blood ever since it was introduced. So a long, long history now of towers being theoretically more important than dragons.
Well, regardless of what they prioritize, Giants definitely have their sights set in the bottom jungle here. Vitality, look at everybody focusing on this mid lane. They're definitely trying to throw their weight around. Up in the top, Steelback, he'd swapped up with AOD. They're going to try for a fast push.
And this is the problem here, is Vitality utilizing that TP, shove it out with Cabochard. They avoid the level 6 point of Shen. There's no real way to utilize that. So it's another game where Giants are behind on the tower play, but they will have their ability to take the dragon from it. Joko's now level 6, so any engagements that do happen will happen quickly and theoretically should be in Vitality's favor with the amount of engage. Look how much faster that tower has gone down.
Slow reaction from Giants. It prompts Vitality to get all the gold back that they had lost on First Blood. They're going to keep pushing top. It's only Flaxish here. You can see the dual lane running to defend, but there's still going to be chip damage on this turret.
Flaxish has to be careful. Look, you've got Ash Arrow has not been skilled, but it's available, and they got Gragas ult.
Oh, they have a lot now. Flaxish has to be super careful if he wants to go in for the taunt. He gets a double one, and in comes Knight. The charm lands. They found Cabochard. He's going to have to flash away. Dominance on. Giants wanted to take that fight, and they only just finished turret down bottom side.
And Vitality getting Cabochard out of there with a flash. Actually didn't use any of their engage tools there. They didn't want to fight under the tower. They didn't have the read on exactly where Memento was. You can see his focus back on that dragon. This is what we've been talking about, is Memento is so focused on, like, okay, we gave away a tower, let's just make sure we get whatever we can for it, which can work out well. This is an early Ocean Drake, so it's nice for clearing waves and denying engages when you're trying to heal up in between failed engages from Vitality. I don't think Vitality are going to fail too many, if I'm being honest, with this amount of crowd control.
Yeah, they definitely have a lot. I mean, there's a little bit of anti-synergy when you think about it if they don't layer the Orianna Shockwave with the Gragas barrel in the right way, but that's a whole nother story execution-wise. And, well, close to 10 minutes into this game right now. The gold is pretty fairly even because we have seen towers traded. Giants can definitely look for more extended engages with that Ocean Drake now in their pockets. There will be another one spawning the next time it hits the rift.
And I like the vision control coming out for Vitality on the top side. That triangle of control wards just giving a lot of safety over to Cabochard, making sure that they can keep themselves safe, pushing out with that Renekton early on. It does mean they concede bot side vision control for themselves, but it's not too punishing. AOD and Steelback aren't really going to push too far up in that lane anyway.
Nah, they're just taking themselves some krugs while it's all happening. So the lane's kind of settled back, but obviously you can push a lot further in this bottom side of your Giants. Vice versa if you're Vitality up top. Although, Cabochard does have to watch out. Flaxish was coming around to meet him. Even though they have some spheres of control in that jungle, you can already see it being chipped away as Flaxish was able to clear away one of those control wards, place one of his own, and try.
So, for this point of the game, we're looking at it. Haven't really had a Shen ultimate come out. Nothing in the way of any fights coming through for Giants and their likes. Of course, it was all from that swap up to top side from Vitality, making sure that they could take the objectives. But Joko, this is going to be a fight.
Face checks right into it. Knight comes right out of the woodwork. They get the big kill, even though Joko threw the barrel. It was a smidgen too late. In goes Memento as Knight was tagging his way in. Curtain call, shooting, and that's the orb. It's HQ that picks up the finisher.
Oh, Giants looking more active in the early game here, trying to capitalize on areas like the Gragas, like the Orianna, that just right now aren't particularly strong, and they're going to convert it into a tower kill now as well. Better start out of Giants.
Decisive.
We haven't seen so much out of them in recent weeks, but this has been better out of Memento Knight, and that one was hustling on this Nautilus. We know he loves the Nautilus. He's played it so many times over the last year of being in LCS.
They just waited and baited, and Joko, he walked right into the trap. So Giants get themselves another couple of kills, or another kill, I should say. Right on the board after the fact they got another and finished off the tower. So, big advantage for these guys. Let's see what Vitality can do to answer back. There's a lot of vision that Vitality can look to clear out here, but they have to be careful in that face checking. Joko, pretty much their tankiest member, and he's also gone for a much more AP-centric build.
Yeah, opting towards the Runic Echoes, trying to get a little bit more wave clear rather than that Cinder Hulk style. Not sure it's all that necessary when you've got like Malzahar, Orianna, Gragas. Although we've only just started to see Gragas come back into the meta, so it's I guess it's not the worst of all things, but at the same time, it's like you're going to be quite squishy the longer this goes on.
Yeah. Might not be the best for Vitality. Maybe they're banking on the fact that they've got Cabo Shard with Orianna shields, and now it looks like Vitality are sending quite a few members down towards this bottom side to try and finish off the tower. Flaxich is still there. They should have enough oomph to finish it, but Giants are looking to answer with an inner of their own.
Yeah, and Giants, they're pulling away now. They're really kind of afraid. They're looking for topside, and they're trying to get 2 towers out of this rather than just the one, because they've pushed out mid, tried to fake aggression onto the mid tower, and that pulled up Malzahar and Gragas, but they're pushing too slowly to get anything else. You can see this tower is only just dropping low, so everybody else from Giants has dropped back. They're looking to just head back and itemize a little bit.
That's just a lot of tower trading altogether. Knight will let the wave evaporate, finishes it off, and gets himself all the gold on top. But he's going to keep on not pushing. I thought he was going to keep going. Was wondering why, but it turns out not to be the case. So everybody backs, they get to spend some items. Giants definitely have a bigger purse at the moment, and a lot of that gold is on Knight. So it seems like the game plan of trying to snowball him ahead is so far working. Isn't enough, though.
Well, I mean, if Knight picks up another couple of kills, you can see he's already 1,300 gold ahead. It's the 1,400 gold that's in his pocket right now. He needs to go back and spend it. But honestly, like, the whole map is going at least decently in Giants' favor. They've had themselves a lead in the bottom lane, and top lane's not doing too badly. When you're Shen into Renekton and you're even on CS, that's pretty good.
Yeah, I guess it can't be too bad for them. And Giants, their game plan always has been try to make a lot of plays happen in the early game, but it tends to not work out all that often for this team. This time, it definitely is a little bit different. 3 kills on the board already, and compare that to the fact that Vitality haven't gotten anything back. Giants are usually the ones that are dying a lot more.
Yeah, Giants normally a whole lot less successful, more deaths overall. Joko, this was one of the deaths that came out for Vitality this time. A little bit of a reversal of fortune to what we were expecting. And then easy pickings under the tower for that kill.
Yeah, unfortunate for Nukeduck that both times he's run in a lot of trouble. He burned both his summoners and didn't actually get out alive. And we'll take a look one more time at that early game matchup just to illustrate more of what you're saying.
Yeah, exactly. You can see the first line is kills at 15 for both teams, so fairly similar. Second one is deaths. Couldn't be too much more different at that point. Ranks.
This is not a rank you want to be up at the top of.
Yeah, exactly. Second is second worst. Second most deaths at 15. You can see this is a reversal of fortune. And the important thing is that despite Vitality typically being in an okay spot with kills and deaths, they're generally behind as well. So both teams have been struggling early game. We did see Vitality last week hold G2 even, but they haven't been able to replicate that in this game. Giants ahead, and we're about to cross that 15-minute mark. A lot better out of the Giants squad this time around.
And there were a lot of questions we had for Giants coming into today because while we saw a little growth from Vitality, we just didn't see that out of Giants when they played off against Splice. Joko throwing the big barrel out, but it ends up being Memento who's able to grab the next dragon. The third that'll be on the map will, of course, be that Mountain Drake, a very heavy contest one. But it is nice to see Giants definitely stepping up in this game against Vitality, especially where it counts.
And a lot of it is the fact that Memento had that early game impact much better than Joko. It's one of the problems of Gragas is you're waiting until 6. You can have some investment in a lane if you look to body slam flash, but he just wasn't going for the plays. Joko hasn't really had too much impact in this game. A couple of ults here, trying to steal away a dragon, but it's not exactly a successful early game out of Vitality.
No, but it looks like they might be looking, more later towards the game. This is a team that has had some slow starts, and this is more proactivity out of them than we had seen in previous weeks. Last week, of course, was different. The story with G2 keeping uneven. But before that, it really was just seeing Vitality lose almost every game very slowly. This time we can see them trying to make those plays. I feel like a lot of it's done to be on Nukeduck for sure. An Orianna Shockwave can make or break a game.
It can. And we have to keep an eye on Nukeduck as this game is going, because right now Knight is kind of bullying him around a lot of the time in this game. One of the players I want to keep our eyes on is Flaxish. I think he's not exactly had the cleanest or safest of splits, very often found on his own and killed. But that's why I actually like the Shen for him. You get a pick that can have impact in making cross-map plays where you're ulting in and saving a teammate, getting a taunt and can survive through. I like that as a pick for Flaxish. We'll see how he utilizes that Stand United Joko. Almost getting caught out again, but you can see Giants just pushing as far as they can in this bot lane, whereas Flaxish getting pushed in the top lane. NukeDuck doesn't really care about him right now.
Oh, well, there's the taunt. He's got a command protect. He's all right with it. And even though the waves are going to go down, Giants still trying to answer down on the bottom. It seems like NukeDuck is getting a lot more done just on his own. And with Flax just going away, he's going to have the pick of it.
And this is a very unorthodox move out of Vitality when you look at just Orianna in a bubble. Normally, this is not what you want to do. Orianna sits in the mid lane and clears. Now they want to go on Knight, maybe.
Oh, man. And Joko was able to dash out of his charm at the last second, but Giants still answer. Okay, it all evens out once again. But I do want to go back to your point about Flaxish because, yeah, he may have had a bit of a rocky start, but I think it's pretty easy to forget that this guy is still pretty new here in Europe. We'll see. Checking on that mid. His hustling is caught. Is that enough to get the damage out? Here comes the Shen Shield. Memento hopping in. They find AOD. The taunt doesn't land, and he's in a plethora of Vitality members. Curtain Call all spent by HQ. Not enough to take anyone down.
Yeah, there's just too much health right now on Hussein. You can see that despite the Nethergrass being used by AOD, nobody else put damage down, and Hussein hardly even had to burn through his shield and stayed alive. Vitality saving so many of their engage tools in a lot of these skirmishes and fights because they don't feel confident that they can commit to kills. And I mean, they're at 0 kills in this game, so Vitality aren't even trying to look for them and aren't even getting anything from the map. So Vitality is somewhat regressing back, but I do like that play the NukeDuck made onto the top tower. Is an important way of equalizing what Giants were doing bottom lane.
Yeah, they're definitely getting objectives for themselves. The question is, will they be able to come up big enough in fights, or will Giants keep extending the gold lead? It has been a slow climb in all honesty, because even though we're 18.5 minutes into the game, the gold advantage is really only a little more than 2,000 in Giants' favor, a lot of that being on Knight.
And keep in mind that a lot of this gold lead has now been absorbed by the QSS that sits in Knight's inventory. Now, there's a lot of contentious arguments about whether having a QSS to deny usage of things like Nethergrasp in the first place, so you'd never even ult the Ahri, that in itself is worth the value, and certainly, yes, that is true, but with engaged tools like this, Knight wants to keep himself careful.
Let's see what happens. Hustle's the one that absorbs the Ash Arrow this time around. He has to burn his flash, and Joko sends the big barrel, but the cast time now means that the cast doesn't land when he wants it.
And the other side of it is Knight's combat stats are not where you would expect somebody this far ahead of his mid laner to be. He's on that one item with a few other little bits. It just means that if ever he gets hit by that arrow, the Nethergrasp, he gets out. And that should be enough for Knight to just play safely in his mind. He can play as he wants to on this Ahri.
Yeah, it's a good investment for him, but still conservative buy, which means he won't have quite as much power. And maybe Giants, they need to be a bit ballsier about their pickups if they want to snowball off of Knight. As we get closer to that 20-minute mark, Baron and Asher's about to hit the rift. Giants are busy clearing and securing vision. They have a lot of wards behind them, though. Vitality have some sight on this Giants jungle, and Giants are looking to do the same to them.
Yeah, and Cabochard, if he can get a TP in, he's looking to recall to try and regroup, but if he can get a TP in, find somebody like HQ on the back line. This time it's Huston taking a lot of damage.
Oh yeah, a lot of damage from those Voidlings. Oh, and he's out. Able to pop his way back up. Meanwhile, Cabochard's going to get stopped by the Deadly Flourish, but he has Dominus on. And he had Burn Flash as well, presumably to get out of harm's way. So the top laner from Vitality is going to have a little trouble if they want to try and make a contest here. Pings on Baron for Vitality just to see if Giants were potentially rushing it. Don't think they have the power to do it just yet.
Neither team has full control, really, of the Baron pit. And that's really a struggling point now because although Baron is live, that Drake coming up in 30 seconds, the Mountain Drake is going to be a higher point of contention for both of these teams. Of course, Vitality, when you look at their ways of starting a fight, theoretically you'd think, okay, we can try and force a fight on Giants if they're out of position around Dragon, but up until this point, the 2 dragons that Giants have taken have been fairly clean. It's been all about Memento taking them while the rest of the team is doing something elsewhere on the map.
Some critical items picked up. NukeDuck, he had completed the Zhonya's Hourglass. Components only for Knight on that side, so they don't have that big difference to make it happen. Talked about Cabochard at the start of this game and what Bully potentially had on this Renekton. We haven't seen as much of it because it all sort of changed when he left lane to try and make a play on mid that didn't pan out. So as a result, honestly, Flaxus has been able to keep pace with him.
Yeah, and then Vitality took their bottom lane up to the top side. We haven't had a laning phase. There's a shockwave.
Okay, Command Protect is out. Giants realize they might need to get out of dodge right now. This might provide the opening for Vitality to take the Drake.
Yeah, it'll be enough to start the Drake. It's enough of a small fight. They want to get mid tower down first by the looks of it. You can see Vitality, they have Ash Arrow, they have the Gragas Cask available. Hikyu's going to open up his ult behind the tower if they go on this.
There's the charm, they lands on Steelback, and they're able to take him down. Knight gets the final shot as Hustlin had pulled him in. Giants going for a big collapse as Vitality lose their bottom lane. Cabochard gets stunned up once again. Knight, he's taken low, but he keeps on playing it out, and Hustlin gets a kill for himself. Giants look to turn on Baron.
Steelback gets taken down, Flash is available, his ult was available, AOD's ult is at least now up. We'll have to take another look at that to see exactly on what caught Steelback out, but Giants, with what looks like the perfect engage, up against all of the odds, they just got chunked down by Shockwave. Joko gets caught over the wall.
Nearly finishing him off. He has to burn his flash. Nutuck going around, gets Hustlin. Baron's helping out here. He goes golden. That's shutdown gold, but Hikyu answers right back onto Joko. Giants will clean up, but the Baron stays alive.
Good denial of the Baron by Vitality. It's still become a bit of a scrappy game now as Giants, they took the first half of that fight. Vitality finally getting some kills on the board, but it has not been clean. This was the start of the fight. It's the charm under the tower that catches Steelback out. Knight has been looking more like his summer split form than he has all year long. Another flash charm came out from Knight, and it was enough to take him down. So Steelback didn't have too many options to get out of that charm, and Giants punish him very heavily.
Yeah, and he's usually the guy that's building second item QSS, so maybe he should have this time around.
Hey, sometimes he builds first item.
Oh.
Never forget, first item QSS Varus.
I was trying to, in all honesty. Giants on their side should be able to grab themselves another dragon. All right, that's enough flame for me for one day. They got a nice lead, though, for themselves. Giants, it may not have been all the cleanest, but they definitely came up big. They'll grab themselves a Drake. Cabochard has not been able to get a whole lot done. He was just a big, beefy front line in that last fight, and he eventually got taken out without dishing a kill. Giants in the driver's seat for game one.
And Giants, you couldn't have got much better kill spread on that team. 3 kills on Knight, 3 kills on Hikyu. They're the carries. That's what they wanted. And we talked about how Memento was trying to be the carry for the team. Well, they're playing with a different style here. And it's working out a lot better for them, at least against teams the strength of Vitality, who this game so far have not really looked like the form they were against G2.
Yeah. Giants side is honestly the most impressive thing is that we see not only that kill distribution, but the fact that they're playing very safe. Every time Hikyu opens up a curtain call, he's well in the back. They're using their front line. Hustling. Once again, he absorbs the arrow.
Yeah.
He's just fine. Look at how tanky this guy is. Knight has the execution potential. Memento, even though he's not necessarily the primary carry, he still has that threat. He hasn't died this game, and he's been a part of almost every kill the Giants have had.
Yeah, and Vitality looking for some kills themselves. Joko just hiding around the corner. But I think the important thing to keep in mind is, like, while this game, you know, it's not SKT KT, it's not even like G2 Misfits, that kind of level, but still, like, Giants are making improvements on what we've seen in previous weeks. And that's a lot of what, when we look at a team, like, what's interesting to look at them? Why should we be watching Giants? And this actually is now giving us a good reason, because we came into this week thinking, okay, last week against Splice looked so rough, they didn't really do anything. Well, now they've actually found a bit of a different style. They've come in with this Ahri, it's looking better for Knight, they're trying new things, and it looks like a much more comfortable Giants.
It looks a lot more like the Giants that we expect to see kind of growing and getting better. We hadn't seen a huge amount of change from them over the course of this split, but we know that Giants are a slow-growing team. Throughout their history, in fact, they've always started the year, they look a little weak, they tend to fall into the promotion tournament, and then in the summer, we see a surge from this team. Whether or not they make roster changes is a whole other story, but it really looked like things were going to fall in the same pattern. But now, this is something that Giants, if they can take this all the way to the end, they can start to build off.
Giants, when Knight is playing well, are a fun team to watch.
It's a bold statement, but a true one.
Giants, when they're not playing and snowballing Knight, not so fun. Joko jumping right in.
He's got... keep doing it. Whoa. Shockwave. Oh, they flash over. AOD gets Hikyu, and the Ash Arrow is going to hit him in the face this time. Cabochard looking to get the execution. There's a shutdown for the Croc. Hustling Memento, all taken low. Triple kill. The bolts from the Hurricane keep on flying as Steelback will find some more. Knight gets Joko on the back half, but it's a 4-for-1 Vitality trade, just as we're praising the Giants.
Yeah, just as we're giving Giants a little bit of kudos at this point. AOD, they find the fight. It looked like Joko was out on his own. AOD gets on to Hikyu, gets the Nether Grasp down, prevents so much of the damage. The carries get forced away, and Vitality, they don't have a smite, but they should be able to get this Baron pretty easily.
No contest unless Knight wants to go in completely Geronimo. Going to be way too late for that to happen. Vitality will secure the Baron with just 2 members left standing. Last shot, it goes the way of Cabochard. Knight hanging out in this jungle to see if he can snag any camps back. Let's take a look at that again.
So it's Flaxish is in the bottom lane. We know he's got both teleport and his ult. AOD flash over the wall into the arrow. This time seal back in complete safety in the backline. Knight only manages to get damage down onto Joko, which is enough for a kill, but it's only 1 kill. This is one of the problems of Ahri, is unless this fight goes long enough that you have that second charm coming out, the second rotation of damage, you're just not doing as much as the rest of the Rift when you look at what Vitality have to offer.
Yeah, and it's nice to see Cabochard playing the big front line. He didn't manage to bully the lanes, but he still stepped up. When we talk about Renekton, there's usually a timer hanging over the head of a champion like that, but it's not quite ticked just yet, so he's making some big plays. He has the Titanic Hydra, so he can side wave push, but he's been a big fighter, and that netted them not only a big one, but a Baron to boot.
So the Baron buff evens up the game between these two, and that means Vitality still have a bunch of towers they can take. This mid-outer is still there, which, you know, a couple of waves whittle it down from the mid lane. As Vitality, it's not going to be an easy push for them unless they can force Knight back, but
AOD is playing with some confidence, though, now. It's nice to see him on a more comfortable type of meta support champion.
yeah, he was playing the Lulu a little last week.
Nami before that.
The Nami, yeah, as well. AOD seems to have settled onto this Vitality roster, and Cabochard settling himself into the bot lane. This time Sealback getting caught out.
Oh, he sends the Ash Arrow, stops at Knight for just a second. In comes Flaxish. The bowl's delivered. They find the damage onto Memento, but it's not enough to take him down. Flaxish gonna taunt away after the redemption came through. Knight a little bit low, and battered and bruised are Vitality and Giants.
And here's where the reset on those 2 Ocean Drakes comes in handy. Giants are going to back away, concede the first tower, but they'll be ready for a second fight if it comes to it. Vitality don't have a lot of their engaged tools left. Giants, okay, they don't either, but if they're healthier, generally that'll be enough to at least stem the bleeding on some of these towers. But you can see Hassan and Hikyu not quite enough on their own. They need Knight alongside them.
Joko was zoning out his counterpart. Not enough to finish the tower off, but Vitality gets some serious chip damage. Let's see if they can get away from the counter engage. He's flanking around the side now. He gets the taunt flash onto Steelback. Can they delete him before the fight is over? Giants taking a lot of chunk damage on the return, but Hikyu at the end gets the kill.
Cabochard was pushing bottom lane. Giants only have got the 1 kill from it so far, so it's not enough to outweigh the inhibitor, or at least the inhibitor tower going down. Cabochard wants to continue this push. They can at least see all of Giants recalling now, so Cabochard will be able to empowered recall his way out. Does not get the inhibitor, but it is enough to get the tower.
Vitality played the objective game while Giants played for the fight. And Vitality were the ones that came up ahead. However, there's another Mountain Drake on the horizon here. Let's come full circle. Giants should be able to pick that one up as everyone had backed away. So they're going to have all the dragons this game. Talk about dragon control.
2 oceans, 2 mountains. I mean, you can heal up, push tower, heal up, take a Baron, heal up. Just go between different objectives, which is interesting because Giants haven't been playing the objective game as much at all outside of dragons. You can see they're behind on towers because of that Baron buff, but it is still better out of Giants. Vitality do lead this game and have done for the last few minutes though. But it's all about those the stats hidden in the dragons right now that you don't see on your screen. That compensates for a lot of that gold lead that Vitality have.
True, but Giants definitely had a lot bigger control of this game to start things off, and it was very easy to see, but you know, they kind of let it go. Lost sight of some of the objectives. Vitality picking up the big fight in the Baron buff. We have seen these mistakes, but what's impressive is how well these teams have been able to punish each other over it.
Yeah, it's there's been a lot of opportunities to punish as well, right? They've caught Steelback a couple of times. Hikyu got caught. Now, keep in mind, Hikyu doesn't have Edge of Night in this game. He's been playing with Ghostblade Infinity Edge Rapid Fire Cannon. Of course, we're on 7.4, so it's not the full gutting of Edge of Night as an item, but certainly has been nerfed.
Just a little bit. See when we move on to the next patch if that gets built even less and less, but at the moment, still in vogue as Memento and Joko fight it out for this red buff. Who wins the smite fight? It's Memento. Ah, yeah.
Yeah, Memento gets it. Loses some of his health, though.
Now they're going to lose the tower, too.
Yeah, loses the tower. Baron buff has run out for Vitality. You can see Cabo still trying to push on the bot lane. Maybe has overstayed.
He's going to have to burn his flash to get out of danger.
But he's got a Guardian Angel. So if he does overstay slightly, it does buy a lot of time for Vitality on the rest of the map.
lot of vision here still for both teams. A lot of it inside of the Giants jungle, though, because Vitality owns so much of this map here. Let's see if they can get out of town alive. Nuke Dog gets a two-man shockwave, but he gets locked up in the final shot of the curtain call. Takes him down to 0. That's another pickup for Hikyu. He's having a banner game.
Memento, clearly not all that trusting in Hikyu right there. Hikyu fires off the 4th shot. You see Kha'Zix's flash on them, try and take the kill away.
I wanted it. Nah, it's okay.
I don't think that was all that necessary.
Well, you know, he does like to carry a game or two, but it's nice for Memento that Giants have got this Ahri and this Jhin relatively fed. I mean, you just take a look at some of the item differences, even with that QSS, you know, sitting on the death cap on top of the Zhonya's and the Melanomicon for Knight. He has Ignite. Like, he has a lot of potential to just completely delete somebody on this map. Maybe not Cabochard, but surely anyone else.
Yeah, he's got to try and find somebody. Joko's probably a little too tanky to take out on his own there in one rotation. It would take a little longer, but Vitality right now have backed themselves away. That Baron is coming up in 1 minute now, and you can see Giants putting the priority down on vision control. This is better Baron control that we've seen out of Giants almost all split. Look at how many wards through the top side jungle.
Ooh, Shockwave burned right before Baron goes down just to try and clear the wave. They lost the tower anyways.
Cabo's causing trouble still in the bot lane, though, so Giants can't, in good conscience, start that Baron or anything, because Cabochard is pushing Flaxish in the entire game long.
And Flaxish won't be able to get in reliably to these fights, even if he wants to give up the inhibitor, because he can get stopped by the Renekton.
Yeah, he can. Giants, you can see, lost control on this game just before 30 minutes. That was that big fight, though, resulted in the Baron going over towards Vitality.
But the dragon stress, they've got a lot of dragons.
They have. We'll see if they figured out how to train them, because here comes Joko and AOD.
They knock Hustling in, but he's got a Shen Shield on. Redemption coming through, and AOD gets blown up by Memento. Curtain call opened here. As Cabochard looks to go in, it's going to be a flash away from Hikyu, and Cabochard is not nearly tanky enough. His GA gets popped right away. Croc's coming back up, but it'll be a few more moments as Flaxish tanking up the front line. Is it going to be enough as they dance around this mid lane? The winner will turn his head on turn this game on its head, but all the same, it's going to be a back away for both teams.
Dragons will kick in for Giants, denying Vitality's ability to actually do anything, but with an even gold game, there's not too much to separate these two teams in that engage. 1 for 1.
Oh, boy, Knight gets bopped by the Shockwave. He's going to have to flash, and auto is enough for Nuke Duck to finish the kill.
Oh, everybody used everything.
That's a long death timer right now.
That is Knight. Level 17, as is Flaxish. Of course, Cabochard's already level 18 over on the other side. He spent so much time out in the side lane. All that experience has gone over. That's why he took quite a while to kill in that fight. We're getting laid on in this one. Vitality want to go. Joko.
Body slam flash in. He finds Flaxish and Hikyu. In comes Hustle, and they're right under tower. But Vitality, they just don't care. They keep fighting it out. The minions have now arrived. Hustling getting chunked. The rest of the team is not there. Memento, he's just had to back. And they're going to lose themselves in an inhib tower. Vitality charging down the mid lane.
And this is the problem, is Vitality have the Orianna, they have the engage tools, they have the later game team lineup, and Giants, they haven't been able to snowball Ahri as much in recent times. Memento has been behind for a fair amount of the game. When you look at it, his damage in comparison to Vitality's, so Vitality have reached the point where the snowball from Giants is kind of stopped.
Yeah, hasn't been enough to push them forward, and they've lost out on that gold game. Unfortunately for them, the Dragons just haven't been there enough for them. Let's take a look as Joko goes right on in as Hikyu and Flaxish were caught out of position.
Yeah, Body Slam Flash didn't even need the cask to come through as Hikyu gets run down, as does Hustlin. Not tanky enough anymore. Early game we saw him tanking up a lot in the fights, but Vitality have basically opened this game 1 and said, nope, this is our base. 2 inhibitors are down, and they want to get that Baron as well. Giants are going to have to concede it somewhat quickly.
Still throwing their weight that way to try and force a fight. See if they can capitalize before the super minions arrive inside their base. Vitality realized they have the power position right now, but maybe this could change. The charm's gonna land, but Joko's going nowhere right now. Hikyu opens up the curtains in the back. He lands a couple shots, but the Ash Arrow stops him short. Few ultimates burn now. Neither team wants to re-engage.
Yeah, and at this point, Vitality, this is their benefit because bot lane is stacking up a big wave. Mid lane, while it is being pushed back out by Giants, remember, that's a super minion wave coming through now, so Giants can only push it out so quickly. They want to go for Elder, though, because Vitality are on the other side. It's an Elder for Baron trade here, and Vitality will be the benefactors of that Baron buff. With 2 inhibs already down, all they've got to do is get themselves around the base and try and push out those last remaining turrets. The only thing they can't do is choose a fight.
Oh, it's going to go just a little bit too late, but they still secured it. That ends up being that trade. It is Baron for a critical Elder Dragon for Giants, but can they get back and defend in time? They need to rush back to base.
So Giants now, not only do they have the Baron, the Dragon empowerment on their team fight potential, remember that now enhances all 4 of these Drakes. The regen from Ocean, the objective pushing from the mountains, but you can see Vitality have had no focus on the Dragons. They wanted Baron for themselves. Hustlin wants to go in on this.
They got the Shen Shield once again. EQ and AOD duking it out, but that support, that doesn't have that much damage as EQ gets a crit shot. Now it's a 5v4. A big taunt from Flaxish. Can they turn it around? The Baron empowerment's not looking like enough, but the shockwave is huge from Nuke Duck. All the same, Vitality health bars are melting right here. Memento getting a hop, a skip, a leap, a jump, and an ace for Giants.
With 50 seconds on most of these death timers, all Giants can do is clear the minions in their base. They don't have any waves pushing. There's no Baron to take. It's a good fight to reset the game, and this is how it all started off. You saw Nuke Duck having to pop his Zhonya's very early on. Then they blast away Hustlin from the fight, and AOD, although he got damage down onto Hikyu, ends up dying, and Hikyu survived through it. Nobody from Vitality could follow him, and some of the damage came out, but right now, Giants, this was the empowered Dragon team fighting prowess that they had. This is what you don't want to do against Elder Drake, is fight them while you've got that Baron buff, because now Vitality have had that buff cleaned away, and Giants have basically pushed a big reset button on this game. We are still even, though.
Yeah, it's 38 minutes, though. A big fight could definitely turn it on its head one more time. Giants, they'd already had Shambles for a base, and, well, they'll get a chance to build it back up now. The Elder Dragon trade definitely coming out in their favor as they were able to take the fight. A crucial redemption as well. Honestly kept them alive throughout that shockwave damage.
Yeah, that shockwave came through, and Nuke Duck, everybody's going to say this with every shockwave now. Thanks again, Faker. Nuke Duck was not quite Faker on that one.
I don't think you can totally blame him for that. It's a pretty high bar to live up to, let's be honest.
I know, right? And that's the problem, is now that he's had like one of the best shockwaves, it's him and then like Pharrell and Lord from like 2013. Those are like, I'm not putting them on the same pedestal. Please, people will clip that.
Oh, dude, you're already in trouble. You're screwed.
If we're talking only shockwaves, there's the 3000 ELO, and then there's the 3-time world champion
ELO
shockwave, which is like on another tier to itself.
Well, trying to get out of harm's way. And
yeah,
I'm not got nothing to follow this up. Trying to get out of harm's way. I'm ejecting on that one. The important thing for Giants, though, is they have ways to get out of the CC that Vitality can bring because they have the 3 QSSs. It's kind of multiplied while we've been talking about all the other things here. But the damage threat is still real from these Giants members because Memento has already gotten pretty big as well. So you have to be really careful, Vitality engaging into this team as we saw last time around.
Gotta be careful on those engages. Absolutely, and Hikyu has had a good game, actually. Although he's been caught once or twice by AOD, that's kind of the nature of playing up against Malzahar support. Yeah,
I mean, he's taken a few arrows to the face as well.
He has. Oh,
and Nuke Duck has taken quite a lot of shots. Hustlin's taking that one. There's a big shockwave, but Knight still takes down Nuke Duck. They look for Steel back. In the back, they grab him, and in comes Cabo Shard. Knight goes golden. Nowhere for the Croc to go, and he is going down. GA popped. Giants 5 members strong, and Cabo's not going to live through this as Knight was heading off Joko at the pass. Big pickup now for Giants.
Giants have turned this game again. This game has gone back and forth between Vitality and Giants, and now with no objectives to take and 3 members down for Vitality, Giants want to continue this fight.
Let's see if Memento can get another kill. No, he just chases Joko away. It's just him and AOD, and AOD's the only one anywhere near the base right now. This is going to be a big swing for Giants as they shove forward to try and claim some inhibitors of their own.
Giants have done a good job finding Nuke Duck a couple of times, done a good job avoiding a lot of the crowd control and engages that Vitality have. Giants just want to continue to push. Remember, 2 Mountain Drakes.
They have a lot of pushing power, and even though Joko and AOD were there to stop them, that's one Nexus turret down. They might be a little bit low, but they still find AOD. A few seconds till Nuke Duck comes back up. It's all Nexus, though, and Giants, it looks like they're about to do it. No, they're dropping low. One more shot is all they need. Giants with the game. was
was
tense.
close. That was close. You can see even Giants are like, uh-oh. Careful.
We've seen some Vitality Nexus holds in the past, not lately,
have.
but you always got to think about it at the end, though. Giants, that snowball was stopped. It looked like it was Vitality's game, but holy hell, did that fight turn around.
Yeah, Giants finding a good fight a handful of times. Nuke getting caught out. Steel back in 4 crucial moments of this game. Was either charmed by Knight, caught by, Flaxish or Hustlin, and Giants just punishing Vitality for a couple of select moments and taking down a Game 1 win.
I mean, it was vice versa for Vitality, too. They managed to find the moments that they could claw their way back into the game to stop the snowball and to get a lot of advantages for themselves. That Baron was a big thing, but man, this was a brawl of a game, in all honesty. A lot of kills traded back and forth.
It was, but you can see the Giants, they were caught out way less. I mean, 4 members of Giants only finished this game with 2 deaths in what was like a 40-minute game.
It was great positioning. You had to look at Hiku every single time he opened up the curtains. There was 2 people right in front of him to tank anything that came his way.
Yeah, what I would say about that is I don't know that it was great positioning, but what I would say is that
Give me a B+.
Giants at least could. I lost track of where I was going. Giants could punish when Vitality, like Nuke Duck, stepped forward and they were able to like grab him with a hook, that type of thing.
Hustlin looked really, really comfortable. I want to give him a lot of credit that time.
He did.
Nautilus, in all honesty, worked out really well for them. But for a closer look at Giants winning game number 1, we're going to head it over to the analyst desk.
Well, now at the Telestrator, but thank you very much, Pyra. Exciting first game for sure, but we want to take a chance immediately to look at picks and bans and look at the composition. So we're set up. 2 very different compositions, 2 very different goals here, Deficio.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the reasons this game was actually very exciting, because Giants, they want to play 1-3-1 split push. They want to snowball early game, and then you see Vitality on the other side. They want to play like super slow and steady. They want to just have like this team fighting calm with a ton of engages, big tanks with the Gragas jungle in the front. And we got to see both teams actually succeed at different things in the game. But sadly, in the end for Vitality, obviously Giants do.
Yeah, well, let's take a chance now to look at our first replay. We'll bring it up now. This is kind of where the snowball in the early game started up for Giants. We look at it, of course, really aggressive play coming in for Giants, but what can Nuke Duck really do here?
Well, the problem for Nuke Duck is he's not expecting the very early gank coming in, so he doesn't have a ward in his side brushes, and that's why he has to stand in the middle of the lane. So as soon as the gank happens, Memento jumps in over the wall. Nuke Duck couldn't stand to either side. Normally what will happen like 3 minutes is you ward your side brush, either one as a mid laner, and you play to that side because that's where you have your vision. So if the enemy jungler comes from the other side, you have enough time to kind of step out, flash away. When you have to stand in the middle and the jungler can just jump the wall and get to you, well, then suddenly you can't get out because the other guy can also flash after you, which is exactly what happened. And this was a perfect start for Giants.
Well, but at the end of the day, that wasn't, I feel like, the really big breaking point, right? He got a Sapphire Crystal. He's still going even in lane. The Ahri having that wasn't the big deal. But when we look at our second replay, when we bring this up, this is where things really went wrong for Vitality in the early game. Deficio, you were harping on this one during the game. Why don't you break it down?
Well, this is where I think we can also use a little drawing tool here, because it's very interesting how the communication between lanes is just not good enough if you look at like Vitality. So this move here is Hiku and Hostin leaving the bottom lane in full vision. They leave it. And now when we pause this replay here with Vitality vision, what we have to notice is, obviously we saw Giants bot lane move. So we know they're like around here right now. The vision for Joko is basically 0 when you look at the river. His bot lane should have communicated. The guys have left the bottom side. They can either have gone back to base or walk up towards mid lane. There's even a ward right there to spot if they're coming. So Joko knows they can only really be here, taking like a path that looks somewhat like this in towards the mid lane. He thinks he can place a ward in this little brush just in time, but it's such a greedy play and unnecessary. So once we now roll the clip, we're gonna notice how Joko walks into obviously 2 guys who's sitting there just catching him. And these are the kind of plays we see from bottom teams quite a few times, where the communication between lanes is just not good enough. And then suddenly you think you can just sneak in that little ward out of vision and boom, you get punished. This results in Nuke Duck dying. Mid tower went down as well. 3K goal lead for Giants, and suddenly their comp was succeeding.
But despite the mistakes coming from Vitality, when we bring up replay number 3, we can see that Giants make a few mistakes of their own. So both team comps, kind of setting up, looking for their win opportunities. Yeah. Vitality do end up finding theirs in the mid game. So let's take a look at replay 3. Let's take a look at how exactly this kind of all went wrong for Giants in the mid game.
I feel like this is revenge if you are Vitality, because this time around, if we look at this, we have Cabo Shot down here. we all the way up there, yeah, you can click him for him, we got Knight and we have Nuke. So Nuke has now left his side lane. He's not going to try and hold it, because if you are Vitality, you want to fight. You want to, force this engage. So we have Cabochard moving this way down. Obviously, if you can draw over there, we get the Orianna moving down as well. And then you have these 3 guys in the mid lane who wants to engage up here at the moment. And this is perfect. And this is where now Giants and their communication breaks down, because Knight should call that no one is in his lane. So you need to be careful, Orianna can roam. Shen should also be calling. Renekton is moving. Watch out, guys. But now that we roll the clip, you're going to see how Giants are actually opting into this fight. Look at Hostlin. He walks in, and this despite having 2 guys from Vitality leaving side lanes. So now when the fight breaks out, once again, if you can click on Ari up there, Knight is really far away.
Yep.
A lot of engage on the side of Vitality, and there's an 80 carry right there. This guy went for full damage, had no QSS. So what's going to happen is, obviously, once we clear this one, we're going to see our good friend AOD. He's going to look at this guy and say, okay, I'm going to go for him. He's going to call for Cabochard to join him, and also Steelback is going to fire an arrow on this guy. And when there's no QSS, you're not going to survive. And when your main damage dealer is gone, once you roll the clip, you're going to see there's no Ari right here. Full engage, flash ulti onto Hikyu, arrow, Cabochard. This AD carry is gone, and then the fight is over. And this resulted in a Baron, and Vitality were back in the game.
And this is where we thought Vitality would just win the game, but unfortunately the game goes so late. The game comes down to one final fight. We look at that fight now. We'll just roll through it as normal and kind of talk over it, because this is it. When you get to late in the game, it doesn't matter if both teams are relatively even. If you lose a fight,
and when
if you get caught out.
Sadly, the guy we actually said were the most consistent member, the kind of the rock on Vitality, got caught a few times. This was the most crucial moment of the game, where he obviously gets caught. He ends up dying very early on, and Vitality, where before we saw them kind of get the proper engage in, they moved in before Knight was there. This time around, it was them getting caught out. Giants execute really, really well. I think this is a game where you can be very negative and say, ooh, there were some mistakes from both teams, but I also think we have to be very positive in how teams were succeeding at different stages. Early on, Giants were setting up really good picks to get an early advantage. Then Vitality set up really good team fights and actually managed to win these fights and take a Baron and force multiple engages later on. And then in the end, Knight, of course, with the big outplay, I think he was fantastic in this game, on this hour here, and he really set up his team to succeed.
All right, well, good things coming in from both teams overall. See how they adapt as we get ready for Game 2. We're going to take a quick break to stretch our wings, but when we come back, we'll have Game 2 between Giants and Vitality.
Can they land a charm from Knight?
Duck steps forward, insta flash, and there's the hop, the damage, the charm is going to connect, even though he's able to cleanse it out. Was a smidgen too late. In goes Memento as Knight was tagging his way in. Curtain call, shooting, and that's the orb. It's Hikyu that picks up the finisher. Nuke going around, gets hustling. Baron's helping out here. He goes golden, that's shutdown gold, but Hikyu answers right back onto Joko. Giants will clean up, but the Baron stays alive. Shockwave, oh, they flash over. AOD gets Hikyu, and the Ash Arrow is going to hit him in the face. This time, Cabochard looking to get the execution. There's a shutdown for the Croc. Hustle Memento, all taken low. Triple kill. The bolts from the Hurricane.
Calm down. We're fine. Do we know what to do between hips, guys?
What? Yeah, we go straight up.
I don't like his option, by the way, but we go straight up.
Vitality health bars are melting right here. Memento getting a hop, a skip, a leap, a jump, and an ace for Giants. Giants, it looks like they're about to do it. No, they're dropping low. One more shot is all they need. Giants with a game.